this is old stuff, and I would hope that we would just have some conversation on some of the things that you built years and years ago. Probably wouldn't build them today because they don't, they just aren't up to our standards today. But I thought maybe since we don't have a good program, why we could at least talk a little bit about things. Years ago, I built one of these Stewart working cranes. And although it actually works, but it doesn't work like you would think it worked. But you can see here's the head house on it, and there is the beam bar there. You could actually put little weights on it. Underneath, you can adjust the weight on this, which will, and then here, of course, is the bar that goes underneath the track that makes the operation work. And when you drive a car, push a car over it, it actually goes up and down. Anybody build one?
Never heard of it.
Nope. Or have I.
No. I guess
But it
I
makes
can't.
me think, I've got a digital scale. Why couldn't you rig that digital scale up to do what we're doing here? Only you get a readout someplace else. And
I suspect with a digital, you could actually calibrate it to the point it works.
yeah,
There was a company called Boulder something or another, and they made a working scale that you could even have an analog meter or a digital meter. And they're not in business anymore. But it would randomly give you weights. And then even you could buy something to punch that on a ticket. But that actually you put a car on it and it would give you some weight, and then you could use that number if you chose to. They were around for a few years and they're not anymore.
It's
Model
probably
Railroader
too easy to go to the letter way, just weigh it there.
Model Railroader took that product you're talking about and had some electronic gizmo that you can connect to your printer and actually print it out. They had a article about that some time ago.
And Model Railroader's Virginian layout project from a few years ago on a working scale, they would show that at Train Fest, and it was kind of a conversation piece.
So the next thing is what Stuart made is the Euclid scrapers. I now have 3 of them. I just finished them yesterday. They're a pretty good model, except that they are a small scraper. They aren't they're not a very large. They make different the real ones different sizes. This would be considered a more smaller one.
My uncle drove one of them, but they never called them a scraper. They used to call them a turniple.
They also call them a pan too.
Turniple made a scraper. We used to have them at work. Then they had electric steering and elevators that would pick up the stuff and put it in the hopper. They were twice the size, 3 times the size of the one he has pictured here. This electric steering was kind of interesting because the steering wheel would only move about 2 inches one way or the other, just enough to hit a switch to make it go the other way.
There's been a lot of controversy over the model, whether it is actually a model of anything. I thought it probably got as close to this particular picture as anything that I found.
We had one of these years ago, a small one like that. That was made by a company, I think, called Hue or Ho, H.
Right. Yep. The payloader. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it had a cab on it, but it was enclosed unit, tractor unit like this one. Yeah, but the
Look at
cab wasn't that wide.
Sorry. Look at my last name, Clark.
Ah, I like it.
It's Huff.
Huff, okay.
Yep, it's Huff.
They had a plant in my hometown,
Okay,
Yeah.
Libertyville.
that would have been 40 years ago or more that we had that little one.
Yeah, that was 50 years ago that Huff was around.
You know, this is a really difficult model to build because they don't put very good straps and stuff in here to hold these, the motor and so forth. So I rebuilt mine with brass straps. These are flat wire and that's hard to get these days. What I missed was I didn't put the chimney on here. So I showed this one time at an NMRA convention and they, of course, I had the plans there and the guy says, oh, we can't give you very many points because you forgot the chimney.
You can just glue one on, a little piece of styrene rod.
Yeah, that's right.
Too late now. I'm done.
I've got one on the railroad too. And I got another one to build, but I never built the second one. But Rod, I don't think it was that bad. It was, but a little bit of challenge, but not bad.
Well, it's not a challenge, but these were not built out of good material.
No,
So I built
agree.
These things out of brass.
Well, Detail Associates brass worked real well, but that's harder to find nowadays.
This
Yeah,
was an interesting model to build. And of course, the first thing people say, what are all of these big stacks up here? They were for the toilet they had built on the back of the schoolhouse.
Yep.
I can only tell you the country school I went to, they didn't need these stacks up there. One was in the far left corner, that was the boys. One was in the far right corner, that was the girls of the lot we were on.
Yeah.
I never quite figured out why you needed a two-holer though.
That's called diversity, in case one fails. Any
Females
IT,
need a support group.
yeah, any IT professional will tell you, you gotta have that.
The other thing that's kind of interesting is they would have two doors, one for the girls and one for the boys. And the schoolhouse I went to did have two doors. They had blocked off one door, so they only had one door left. But anyway, when it was built, it was built with two doors.
Ah, yes.
Anybody build one of these?
Yes.
I tell you what, the biggest problem of this is how to get this part together so that it matched all the curves.
Mhm.
That was my biggest problem with this. A little
Standing.
more problem down in here too.
And the hexagon outcropping there toward the bottom, I cheated out and went with styrene for the roof pieces.
So I put a few of the shutters on, and actually this one has the interior in it, including wallpaper and a light. And my wife says, that's my, that belongs to me now because that's my Halloween decorations.
So is that a mansard roof?
Yes,
Yes,
that's what it'd be called, yeah.
yep, mansard roof.
Looks like a leak waiting to happen.
How about
Somewhere on here, there was a blackbird, but it seems to
There
have
are.
disappeared.
Oh, yeah,
It's
right.
still there.
Three of them.
There's three of them on the tree.
Yep.
Oh, there they are. Thank you. I forgot all about where they were.
Those gotta be ravens though, right? They can't be blackbirds. There's gotta be ravens.
Yeah, they're ravens. That's probably the first Alexander built, model I built. And at the time, I didn't, the Northwestern actually painted them, the tower red. Of course, it pretty well weathered out pretty doggone fast. It used to have a spout on the side. I took that off and since I'm not running any steam engines anymore, I left the tower on the railroad. Probably a lot of people built those. back when we were running steam.
It's amazing how many pictures you see in older magazines where the guys put the support rods more widely spaced at the bottom and tighter at the top.
Yeah, and of course, that would be proper. And mine tend to be a little bit more evenly spaced. These are copper wire, and they're soldered. And that's a little bit big, but
Anybody build the Campbell ones rather than the Alexander?
I don't,
I
hope
built
that's-
3 Campbell ones, not the Alexander.
I think that's Alexander. I hope it's not Campbell. I know that's Alexander.
Yep, that's the tower. Yep.
And that's not very far away from me in Indiana. Of course, the tower's long gone. That was quite a project too. Again, the problem tended to be building this roof part on here.
Mhm.
Everything else seemed to go together quite nicely.
That's at Wellsboro.
Yeah, thank you. I knew it was close, but I forgot.
I was over there not too long ago and the foundation is still there.
Well,
Concrete foundation
actually-
there is still there.
The tower's still there.
No, tower's gone.
Okay,
Tower's
think-
long gone.
I'm thinking of the one down where where's the railroad we ran on, or they have a tourist railroad down at further south.
I think you're down there by North Judson, but I think
That's-
that was the town of Reynolds, just Ken, what's the first town south of Wanata?
Yeah, it's North
Lacrosse.
Judson.
Lacrosse. By Lacrosse, there's out in the field, there's one of these towers just slowly crumbling. It's
I saw it yesterday and it's still there, still up, and there was a car by it.
Hmm.
An automobile by it. So I think somebody may be living in it.
wow.
That's a long-
Possibility.
And by the way, I got a little hook kit here, Ron, and don't feel bad because they don't give you a chimney and they never tell you when to put the chimney on.
Okay. Well, I built this thing way long time ago. It actually appeared in the Pennsylvania magazine. And I noticed when I just now noticed that I failed to take this off. No, it's just an input. I just typed it in and I forgot to take it off this afternoon. I was looking at the fact that this is not down to the ground level. There was a reason for that, but I don't remember what it was. So if anybody takes the Pennsylvania magazine, you should find it, but you got to go way back into probably 10 years ago or better.
Okay.
I built these, but I never took pictures of them. And I kept this for a long while. And Jim told me, that tank is too big for behind a gas station. And I thought about that, and so I sold it.
Yeah. I never would have seen one that large behind a gas station. And in
Now,
fact, most were buried under gas station underground.
Right.
Most of them.
They had to
you can
be.
find them.
Or if
can
they
find
were,
a few.
or if they were above ground, they had to be covered many times with only ventilation pipes coming out of the ground level.
I just saw a picture, which I just dumped here a few minutes ago, from a gas station that had 4 tanks behind it. This goes back into the 20s when you didn't have so many regulations.
Mhm.
But
I
that
think
tank's
I'll-
up for a gas station anyway.
I think Alexander made a freight house because I built one for my friend, but I could not find a picture of it.
I have the kit. I haven't started it.
And that's all of that one. anyway, you heard what I said about it. I couldn't find a place for it on my railroad, so I sold it. The guy said, well, I don't know what I paid it for. I asked him, probably $35. He says, that's too high. I said, that's all right. I'll take it home. He gave me the $35.
Still too high. It's about 3 stories.
Anybody actually see a prototype ever like that?
Yeah,
I've
seen
never
the
seen
pictures
it.
of 'em.
There's a photo of, I
Okay.
think, on the Great Northern of that bunk car. Yep.
I thought I saw it also on the Union Pacific. But maybe you're
Might have-
right. Maybe it's Great Northern.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Go back to about the 1880s, 1890s, when they were trying to build everything out west. So,
That's an
Oh, yeah.
unusual car because of all the doors in it. I guess they also used it for loading, hauling coke. I don't know how many Ambroid modelers are on the list here tonight. Maybe nobody.
Oh, no, some of us have built a few.
Yeah.
I have a few in reserve.
whoa.
Now, I think that car is probably painted the wrong color. I think it should be Pullman green.
Really?
Well, the reason I painted it red was I saw some kind of a note on it, but I've since seen a picture of one. And I'm almost positive it's Pullman green.
Yeah, they probably ran those in passenger trains. Maybe.
You can take the containers out. That I don't run it. Doesn't fit what I do, but it's on the shelf.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I made 2 of these. One of them I had a guy, this is back before LEDs. The guy was hanging on the side and I had a battery inside of it. And you could click it on and his little lantern, grain of wheat lantern would light. I probably sold that off because I don't have it anymore. You see those on railroads every once in a while.
Oh,
Built that one.
There was at least 2 cars of the Matheson dry ice. The other one was made by Laconia. It was a wood car with foil sides. I think maybe there's a picture of it later in.
F&C's making one in resin now.
I don't think they had a very large group of cars though.
No.
When I made this car, I decided that I wanted the hand wheel to actually operate the underneath here, operate the brake area. So when you turn the hand wheel, the rods and stuff move under this car.
you're an overachiever.
Why did you do that? I don't know. I guess I had to have something to do. Of course, I was probably 40 years younger. I was just reading about this car. Apparently they made one and one only. I don't know how long it lasted, but it was the plywood, the sides were made of plywood.
Hmm.
And this car took a lot of work to build. You notice all the stuff here on the bottom. I don't remember. Over here it says probably how many parts went into it. But every one of these things have, I don't know, multiple parts. The thing is, they cranked the doors to close them up. They released them, I guess, with a lever, but then they didn't want to crawl underneath to close them. So they had that cranking mechanism to tighten the door back up again. As I read about this thing, they took the top off. The bottom of the car was metal. It was a metal car. Only the top was wood. And in the later years, this was gone and it was just a open hopper. And I do run that one on my railroad. Every once in a while when the pole lines get broke off, I run that car out there and park it on a siding. So it's in the way of everything. I was working down in South Georgia and I saw this car down there, actually a car just like this, number different. And so when I was starting to work up in Pennsylvania, why at the hobby shop they had one, I thought, well, that'd be neat to build. And so that's when I built it. The doors open up and when I took the picture, there was no watermelon showing, but if I remember right, if I would have taken it with the ventilated door open, you could see the watermelons inside.
I almost bought one of those Saturday at a swap meet, but I figured out it was an old wood car and passed.
Well, somebody makes them in plastic too.
Yeah, they're not the best. Westerfield makes them. That would be the best choice.
I think in real life, I actually saw one time because Spooner and Tama would get watermelon all the time.
Yeah,
I really think I saw one of those there.
had a friend that told a good story back in the 40s. One of these cars. He lived over in Britt, Iowa, which is a small town. And they would bring one of these cars of watermelons in, and all the local grocery stores from in the county or the area would come and get the watermelons that they'd ordered. And the kids were playing in the straw in the car in the summertime. It was hot. And there was a watermelon buried in the straw. So they took it out and broke it and ate it. And he said, best watermelon he'd ever had.
In the early 60s in Michigan City, two of those cars were going across Highway 20 right by the radio station. And they came off the tracks and they were full of watermelon. And the radio DJ saw it and said, hey, there's a bunch of watermelon all over the place. And just about everybody in Michigan City went over there and scavenging the watermelons.
So now I'm working up in Pennsylvania and I went down to Gettysburg. They had a big hobby shop down there. Gilbert's, as I recall. And
Yep.
they had this kit, and where we lived, there was a real small railroad museum starting, and they had a caboose like this, a little old 4.0 steam engine. So of course it prompted me to build one. And I don't model Pennsylvania at all, so it ends up being on the shelf.
Ron, this is Ambroid.
No, I'm pretty sure it's mainline.
I've never seen that before. Penzie guy talking here. This is Joel.
That was probably built in about 1963.
Mhm.
So we're going to get out of cars that I built into cars that I've collected. So somebody can comment on them. This is a Mantua car. It's actually brass with the paper sides on it. Now the ends are not, I don't think the ends are brass, but the framing of the car is. And of course it's got a cast underframe under it. That was back in the days of paper sides. If you see cars with Katie couplers, I probably run them. This one might even have sprung truck shed.
No. Those are solid.
I do not run that one. Notice the couplers on that. That's the old Mantua coupler.
Baker.
Mm-hmm.
Baker.
And that's just a collecting thing. I sent out a message the other day about some cars that I was interested in collecting, and that was just one of them that I picked up.
Got that one.
Yeah, that's another one that I picked up. That has that's metal sides, but they're not they're not brass. They're thin tin.
10.
It's got, I think that's paper side too, isn't it?
Yes, paper over 10.
Yeah.
I have one of those, yep.
You notice there's not much detail up here. There's no grab irons or anything. But
Give you something to do, Ron.
no, no, I'm not doing anymore. What you see is, yeah, that's the way it is. It'll not get any better. So this is what I've started to collect. I need something to do because I haven't got anything else to do around here. So anyway, the Athearn made 14 different numbers of this car,
Really?
and I have 2. So you'll see the other one in just a second. You know, the question is the dome, what color is the dome? This one is red, the next one will be black. And I do run it, and this obviously is sprung trucks. Here's the other one I got.
Hmm.
So somebody can tell me, what do you think the right color is? I don't know. Is the dome should be black or red?
No way to know.
I guess
Wonder
I
which-
can't be wrong then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonder if Rich Mahaney can help.
Well, both your cars are half right.
Oh,
That's another Athearn metal car.
Mm.
That one I redid. I reworked that one. Behind it is a metal. I'm trying to think who made that. It is not a die cat.
The one behind it looks like to me a roundhouse, small
No.
roundhouse.
It isn't. It's
Was it JC?
it could be.
Where
Rossi?
where
It's
the
heavy
sides
cat.
were separate, real flexible, separate pieces?
No, it's a full casting. The whole thing is
Oh,
casting.
Boy.
And for the life of me, I can't think who built that, made that. But it looks like a roundhouse. In fact, I think roundhouse ended up with the mold because this car is identical to the plastic one.
Okay, I was thinking that's the plus, okay. I got one of them.
Now, what's different about this car is it's got the doors you can open.
Hmm.
I quit running this car because I lost a door for about 5 years and finally found it in the tunnel. I decided I wasn't going to run it anymore. It's all plastic. It's kind of the interim between their metal car, their paper car, and finally their all plastic car without a operating door.
Yeah, I've got one of those in Santa Fe.
Does anybody have any Thomas Industry tank cars? I always
Nope.
thought they were pretty nice.
I've heard about them, yeah, but that predates my time in the hobby.
Yeah, you can still find some though.
Oh, that one.
wow.
You see that
Yeah.
one now and then in plastic. This one's in metal. In fact, I got 2 of them. If somebody would want one, why, I would part with it. I only want one, and I'm not gonna build another one. It's not in good shape as this one. And here's the third one. I didn't do anything to this. I left the rust and stuff on it. I guess it makes it automatically weathered.
Those were decent looking cars.
Mhm.
So this is Silver Streak. I didn't know what that was until a few weeks ago when there's a group IO that deals with old antique and vintage stuff. So I sent a picture to them and they told me what it was. It has a foil, it's a wood tank with a foil wrapper around it. And the bottom is this is all metal down here and all the black is metal.
Hmm.
I have.
How about
2
the
of them.
dome? How about the dome, Ron?
It's
Was it a
metal.
casting?
It's
metal
a casting and the ends are casting.
Wow.
I knew the ends, okay.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I have, and I will rebuild it because I've got it all stripped off, is a Matheson car. But it does not say Matheson Dries. It says Matheson, what other product that they had that they use tank cars for. So I think Dave has sent me the information on that.
Yeah, I can't remember now.
Oh, you did. You said you found it in your,
In the, oh, the
Encyclopedia.
19, in the Car Builder's Cyclopedia, I think.
yeah, that's where you found it at. I sent that on to the group IO because they indicated that it was a Gates car. And they said, no, Matheson never had Gates car. But, you know, what you found apparently was a Gates car. I suspect others have these and they made them in more than Rock Island. But this is an all aluminum car and I think Globe built it.
Emmett Sale had a few of them.
I think there's some lettered for the Emmett Sale, isn't there?
Yeah,
I may have one lettered Great Northern.
Yes,
I left
was.
mine aluminum and sometimes I pull it behind that RDC or not, well, the gas electric I've got. Of course, I don't model the Rock Island, but that's okay. It's my railroad, I guess. Huh? These are wood cars. They have foil sides on them. The foil, the end has got a foil. The foil is backed with paper. And it's, you can see it's in Boston, so that has the ribs on it. And there's the other Matheson car. And it too is foil paper. You can see how it's not as crisp as it ought to be along the edges where you bend it.
that's the one F&C is doing.
Nobody knows who made this one. They think it is a kit bash. Kind of an interesting car though, isn't it?
That really looks like a Penzi build.
And that's the way before.
I was thinking along the lines of the B and O wagon top or whatever they call that.
Looking at the insert, the inset grab iron on the top, on each corner.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's an X31 or a 32.
Where I'm at, yeah.
It looks like the running boards are integral to the roof casting.
I think that's all cast on.
Well,
Like
one
the
outfit,
old Varneys were. It looks like an old Varney running board.
it also looks like the Marks HO.
Could very well be Marks. When I showed that to the group IO, nobody could identify it. And everybody said that he thought the underframe was from another car, different than the top, the body of it.
I don't think so, because look at the sill step on the right side is the same width as the ladder styles.
Mm-hmm.
I picked this car up not too long ago. That's a Varney car. The body is
Metal.
all plastic with the metal sides, but it is so light that I had to quit running it. I mean, there was no way to, I didn't want to tear it all apart to put weight in it. So I just put it up on the shelf.
Ron, couldn't you, don't those hatches open though, don't they?
Oh, these,
The hatches, does
The
not the
hatches-
hatch open?
they did.
And if they do, you just pour a little sand in.
You're right. They
Right.
did open. Notice the word I used, did.
It did, yes. If they did open, I was gonna say you could wait it through the hatches.
Yeah.
Well,
Hmm.
also
Fishing
look,
shot would work as well.
look at the
Yes.
thick running board.
Mm.
Pretty nice lettering and stuff on the car, though. I
Yes, sir.
like it. And here's another one of them just like it, except I must have weighted this one because I run it all the time. And it has no problem with weight problem. And
I
don't
have
know
one
what
of
I did.
those
I
too.
suspect I glued in some heavy bolts or something inside it.
That's a nice name, Tim.
Barney used a lithography process for their cars and it still looks pretty darn good.
Sure does.
Barney cars for their day, I think were excellent, very well done. That's my personal opinion.
I started working on putting these together after I saw your message about, do you have a favorite old car? And that's when I started putting these in together. I mean, this is just a small amount of the old cars I've got.
Oh,
That is 100% plastic, Barney.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do the weathering. I think that came with age.
Wow.
I use all number fives. Well, I got to back up. I guess at this point in time, I was using all number fives. Sometimes you have to do a lot of work with the underbody, cutting off metal and everything else to get a 5 in them. And, you know, I graduated from the 4 to the 5 and I do not use unless it's on a locomotive, where the coupler head is up or lower to the shank of it. I just keep grinding or adding one or the other till a 5 works.
You also broke a lot of drill bits on these cars.
I think these are metal. I think I might have did a little
Yeah,
bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
that's
your,
what I say. It broke a lot of drill bits.
your stirrup steps look like aftermarket too.
Yeah, they are. They're definitely not what came with the car.
Well, Lifelike ended up buying that Varney tooling, and I think somebody is still offering these cars, some really obscure make, but someone's still grinding them out.
mm.
They're real light, but they're easy to put weight in.
Oh, I got that one.
I guess you can see what I put on it. I didn't bother to paint it.
Waiting for natural weathering.
Yeah.
Varney also had one labeled Erie, and they had a cover for it. So it was a covered hopper, but with traditional hopper bays at the bottom, which I thought was totally phony until I saw a photo of one that looked pretty darn like it.
I think I had one once and I don't have it anymore, but I think I had one of those.
That's the Monon covered hopper number, but they didn't have any covered hoppers that looked like that.
Mm.
They had some gray ones, but
Mhm.
they didn't convert any coal hoppers to covered hoppers.
Mm.
And there is their
Mhm.
stock car.
Well, once again, the running boards cast integral with the roof. That
Yep.
does, yep.
That was the one disadvantage of trying to modernize a Barney car, was
Yeah.
that you can't, it's very difficult to, let's say, try to remove that cast in or molded in running board.
And it's right in your face. Yep.
It's interesting. I don't have any steps on here.
Yeah.
I don't, they must have broke off because isn't there? a
Cattle don't
step
need
over
'em.
here? There's a step over here, isn't there?
No,
No?
no.
How is it that I missed putting steps on there?
The
Wow.
detail is so fine, it's invisible.
Yeah.
I'll have to get that picture off of there.
I have not. Where do you buy imaginary stir steps or sill steps?
That's what makes him an MMR.
There's quite a few good steps on the market though now.
Yes,
Yep, yes.
A-line.
I'm done.
Very good.
Very good.
Those were interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. If you didn't notice, Doug has typed into the chat the website where you can download the app to convert your cell phone to a webcam. Thank you very much, Ron, for stepping in for John. I hope John will probably come with his presentation a little later, maybe in April. And so let's see, today's the 23rd. Gene has deferred due to some equipment failures for next week. So we'll have Doug presenting instead next week. Doug, what is your topic again?
We're gonna look at the ICC valuation reports and records.
Right.
So I was gonna add we were gonna add some of that with Gene's presentation on AFEs. But because he's had his scanners fail and one's in the shop now, he's an old Army Master Sergeant, and if he's not 100% ready to go, he won't do.
He scrubbed the mission.
Yep. And so, but he's promised to do that at a later date, but I'll go ahead with the ICC stuff and how I've used that in modeling, and I know Chuck Schwartz has used a lot of that as well, so.
Well, that'll be great. Thank you, Doug, and thank you again, Ron. Thanks, everybody, for coming. And have a great Thursday. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Back to the Michigan game.
Yeah, that's right. How to do it.